Thank you for joining, and we're just about to get started. I had some comments that had nothing on the wall, so my daughter created these little paper mache design until I get some pictures on the wall. So hopefully you like that. But today we have I'm really excited today. I'm just getting set up here for the chat. And we kind of prepped this the day before, and we have a very popular post there. So we're going to talk about how to create, manage, and grow your LinkedIn Live. And so there's a lot of different aspects on that. But before we do that, what I want to do is ask everyone where they're from. So I'm actually close to LA in California. And if we have any participants here viewing, let us know where you're coming from. And I'll go ahead and check my phone to make sure everything's working on that end. Yep, it looks like it's working. All right. So I'm in California, and if anyone wants to let me know where they're from, I would love to see. Oh, it's coming in. It's a little bit. Oh, we have about a 15-second delay, it looks like. We got some viewers here. Oh, Marisa, originally from San Diego. Oh, I live outside of Nashville. So what made you move from San Diego to Nashville? San Diego is such a nice place. Scottsdale, Arizona. Preston, Butch, living. Greetings from Atlanta. I just moved from Atlanta. Atlanta is a great place. Let's see. Edmonds, Washington, north of Seattle. Thank you for letting me know because I'm not very good at my geography. Lisa is coming in from Kenya, and she's my assistant. Really good person. Let me see. Do you have a producer? I don't know if I have a producer. I just kind of push the button, but I do have an assistant that sets a lot of these things up. Oh, we have Esther from Nigeria. Nice. Oh, Mauricio, you left San Diego for better quality of life. The cost of living, definitely, and you like seasons. Ah, India. Let's see here. All the way from Sri Lanka. Nice. So looks like we got a great crowd today. And what I want to do is kind of thank everyone for helping. And I especially want to thank the people from the Client Acquisition Masterclass. I have a program called that, and it's actually sponsored by this. So the Masterclass actually has 24 sessions on that. And so they're the sponsors. So I'll go ahead through a couple of things that talk about them real quick, and then we'll get into it. I'll go ahead and share screen. And I'll share the entire screen here. Awesome. So this post will actually, this set of slides will actually be a post for tomorrow. If you're interested in getting a copy of this or knowing when we're posting it to download it, go ahead and type in your in the chat masterclass, and then I'll know just to send you a note where it's at there. But this is something that we're doing, and I'm very proud of it. We have about 10 people already on the class, and we have 24 sessions, and it's all about increasing your bottom line, systems, creating different aspects of the actual systems as well as the strategies in order to bring in clients. So here's some testimonials, some sessions from a primer to branding, enhancing your LinkedIn profile. And there's 24 of them. So I'm not going to get into it too much. But if you're interested, go ahead and type in the comments there, masterclass, and I'll go ahead and send that to you. Let's see here. All right, so that worked pretty well, And so the other thing I wanted to do is talk about this post right here. And Lisa, if you can, go ahead and put the link to this post. I think that happened either late last week or earlier this week. We put this together. And this is kind of what we're going through in more detail. So this is going to be a little more interactive here. And so a lot of times we have a different avenues of bringing business in. We may have our content. We may have our direct outreach. It could be mail. It could be your DMs. It could be your email. It could be your phone calls and that sort of thing. And there's the streaming platform as well. Then their email list, newsletters, and that sort of thing too. So there's so many paths to kind of bring channels in to kind of drive business. And this is just one of them. I have a good friend, Dr. A, and she actually brings in, I think, over 100K a month through her streaming show. Now, she's pretty extreme. She does 2 shows a week. I do 1 show a month. So there's nothing in comparison, but we're moving from this live environment and then actually adding a podcast pretty soon. So I'm actually progressing. And what I'm doing is I'm sharing how to set these things up. Now, the main thing that people really need to understand is that once you start this, this journey, it's a business platform, and you have to treat it as such. So you have to be organized, understand, what you're doing and where you're coming from and where you want to go. And so there's a couple different aspects on this, and I have a couple of things on the slides. So these are overall concepts here. Why do you want to have a live show? Don't just do stuff willy-nilly. Have a purpose. And then we want to talk about, once you have that purpose, what are the outcomes that's going to that help you and other people achieve? And so those outcomes, and then how can it benefit you and those other individuals? And the fourth item is the tools and the processes. So we really need to figure out, if I have a live show, what do I want to have it about? And it's usually going to be what you're good at, what your industry is, and how you're helping people, how you're making an impact. And sometimes these are interviews for other people. I recently made a change, and instead of interviewing a lot of people, my guest speakers support some of the things that I do. So I went back to my roots and just provide value and help on how to do things, because that's kind of what I'm good at. And please feel free to ask any questions as we go through it. As soon as it comes up on the chat, it may be a little bit of a delay, but I will go ahead and reply back to it. Now, a lot of times we want to establish the purpose of your show. I mentioned that before. Are you an expert in a particular industry? Do you want to bring awareness to your latest product? Is there some news or some things particular that you're interested in that you can actually benefit from? I'll give Dr. A, for an example. Dr. A has something called, I think it's Learning Without Borders. And so she wanted to kind of design stuff for parents, for learning, and it became a really big success, but it didn't happen overnight. It took her several years to do that. Definitely, Marisa, you're absolutely right. The 2 most important components of any online event, live stream, purpose, and format. And I am actually polishing this format every time I go. So I am by no means perfect, but I do have my notes in the right. I have my slides at the front. And I also have a lot of browser tabs open that we'll go ahead and touch on some of the structure. Now, we always talk about desired outcomes and benefits. Whether you're sending a DM or posting content or creating a LinkedIn newsletter, it's always the same. Is what you're doing providing value to others? And is that value sparking ideas to generate more networking opportunities? And are those networking opportunities generating business? At the end of the day, we're here to do business. And unless you're retired and you're giving your time away free, you have the lights to pay for, you have bills to pay for. And so if you're running a business, you want to enjoy it. And so I often enjoy just fixing stuff, making things perform better, learning how to communicate better, improving myself. And I'll give you an example. During my last master class, we audited our offers, and the information that came back was feedback on myself was great. And I took that from the course and the people in the course, and I updated my LinkedIn profile on that. And so I enjoy improving, and I enjoy teaching others how to kind of get those conversions. Um, if yeah, again, if you're interested in the masterclass, just type in the chat masterclass, and we'll reach back out to you and to maybe have a conversation on that. But it's something very, very good to do. It's super cheap, and um, I think 1 hour of my consultation is like $295. So for less than that, you get access for the whole year, and it's all the things are live. So that's definitely something to take a look at. Now, another thing, when you're designing your LinkedIn Live, you want to figure out those outcomes. And those outcomes are things like, well, how can I keep this train running? And one thing to do is, well, you have to add people to the LinkedIn event. And then you have to talk to them afterwards. So those are the needs, but how do I do that? Well, one thing that we do is that once people register, we add them to a list. And if we can pull their emails out, we can say, hey, thank you for joining, and that sort of thing. So that can actually add to your email list. Another thing, too, is when you create a LinkedIn Live, you have the ability to invite 1,000 people a week. So anyone who's invited can actually invite 1,000 people in a week. And it only takes about 7 minutes to do. So you go to that page where the event is and you invite. And if you use the filters, you can select a number of them at a time and then scroll down. Another thing, too, is we have a system that reaches out to certain bits of our audience based on a Sales Navigator search, our first level search. We're able to send messages to them. Another thing that you can do on the message arena, creating or a direct message, a DM, you could use groups too. So a lot of these searches allow you to access groups and send them a free message. So there's a lot of opportunity to kind of let people know where things are coming from. A fourth option is my LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, my email list. So I have a vetted email list that I grow and I clean out every single week. I might let them know about this event or a post about the event to see if they're engaged. So that's pretty it's pretty self-explanatory, but those are some steps that you can do to kind of increase it. Now, let's talk about tools. There's a lot of tools. I actually did a search yesterday on this, and I did a LinkedIn search on streaming tools that work with LinkedIn, and I found out there's 172 streaming software services, and there's hundreds of podcast softwares out there, right? And I'm not a podcast expert, but I use Restream because I'm familiar with it. StreamYard is also very good, and they have a bunch of other softwares. But what happens is on a LinkedIn Live, you use Restream to tie and to create that event there and to stream right through that. So right now I'm on the Restream software and I'm outputting that. So that's very important. Now let's talk about a couple of advantages of Restream, StreamYards, and similar software. Well, when you stream, you're thinking, well, I'm doing a LinkedIn Live. So what happens when you create a LinkedIn Live, there's a couple of benefits. LinkedIn creates a post out of it. And so people engage in the post. And then once the event's over, it has all the comments on there as well. And so it's actually seen twice. I typically get about 1,000 views on the replay. And so you have that secondary, the secondary part where people are actually viewing your stuff again. And so that's very exciting. And you say, well, I have it on my LinkedIn event. Well, LinkedIn actually puts it on your LinkedIn profile too. So where your banner is on the profile, LinkedIn will run the stream right on there. So it's another place where it shows it. Shows it right off your profile in real time. And then StreamYard, as well as Restream, which is I'm using right now, allows you to stream on multiple platforms at the same time. You need to think about that. Well, how many platforms are? I think they're like 31 or 21 platforms that it supports. So right now I have my LinkedIn Live, I have my Facebook Live, I have my YouTube Live, I have my Twitter Live. I have actually 4 channels running right now, and that's just me. What happens if I have a guest speaker? Well, they usually have 3 channels. So imagine you having 3 guest speakers. You would have 12 channels. Oh, well, 3 is 9. You would have 13 channels in that case. You had all shooting out your content, your information, your stream at the same time. So it's very, very powerful to use this over time. And then what happens with the recordings? Well, they're on YouTube and all these other platforms. You can use the recording for an actual podcast. So that's pretty important. Now, there's a couple of different softwares here. It's Canva, and they actually help me with the slides. So when you create a LinkedIn Live event or a regular LinkedIn event, you have a big image that you want to put in there. And so this image has to be created. So I am a designer by trade, and I can design stuff from scratch. But why do that? So Canva has a lot of great templates and elements and things like that. And the slides that you saw was actually created by Canva. So in the past, where it would take me 30 or 40 hours to develop a set of slides, I can do it within an hour. I can create a nice, gorgeous graphic on there. And so once you put that on there, you have the ability to create your materials beforehand, like what we did here, create your cover and that sort of thing. So Canva is a great thing. So there's a lot of great tools here. I got a question here. To people who don't have 4 to 7 weeks to market the event properly, how can a live content still work for them? Well, that's a good question, Marisa. I always want to have 3 to 4 weeks at least, because if I have once a month, I will start marketing the other one right after the current event. So that way you have some movement. But if you don't have it and you just have a live weekly, you could still send out messages. You may not have as much volume. And the other thing is, if you have an email list or a guest speaker, they will have an email list and let them know about the event. So that way you can increase the number of people that are interested. And I'm sure there's a lot of other ways to do it as well. I've seen in the past, when I started the LinkedIn Lives, I had probably 1,000 something people, sign up for it. Now there's a little bit of competition. So on an average month, if I have 3 to 4 weeks, I will get between 160 and about 200 people registered. Last event was over 330, but different months are a little higher. And plus I pushed it out a week. So hopefully that answers your questions. There's lots of different options on that. Now, speaking of, having a guest speaker that can really boost your audience, you want to make sure that the speaker is appropriate for that particular event. And then also that speaker has an email list and they're willing to play ball with you. So you might want to create a speaker agreement. And I have a copy of one here that I have. And if you're interested in any of this stuff here, feel free to book some time with me. Lisa, if you can, put my booking link in there, or just type in "Let's Talk," and then and I'll send you my booking link. So I'll go ahead and share. I'm pushing a bunch of buttons here. Make sure this is working. I didn't share the screen, did not. Oh, it is sharing a screen. Great. All right. So if you have a speaker, you want them to agree with what you are doing to make the whole process run smooth and to kind of bring people in that particular LinkedIn Live. Um, Here's one, for example, and all this is a checklist and making sure that the information that you're providing for that speaker, if you're talking about them, or if you have a particular subject matter, they understand what it's going to be, so they're prepared. And the best thing is communication. You may want to send them an email template. So if they have an email list, they don't have to think about what they want to do. They can just take what you have and make edits to it. And then you might want to create a post for them. So usually, what I want is them to have a decent sized email list that has something that pertains to what we're talking about. And then them send out an email for that list and also a graphic. So a graphic for their social media and post, and let me know when that happens so I can support that. And so that agreement is very important too. Another thing too is some people think um, that they get your entire email list and stuff like that. They usually don't. That has to be specifically written down. So usually they email their list to invite in your show. So what I tend to do is not give out the larger email list, because what happens is there's spam, or unless you have that particular. What I do for people who add their email list to me, that's very, very private. So that's one thing that you want to think about. Now, the other thing is, well, how do I set up? And let me go ahead and check if I have any questions first. If I click on the right, here you go. I'm sorry, Marissa, it doesn't seem like I answered your question. It says my answer would be dot 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 the. I'm not comprehending what you're asking me. I'm so sorry. Another thing is you want to create a method of managing that process. So you have the guest speaker here, you have the idea of the show, but how am I going to manage the show? And one of the things was, invite 1,000 people a week. If you ask other people to do that, that's great on that LinkedIn Live page. The other thing is to really figure out those other processes. So what I have is an SOP on how to create the events and how to use Restream, so I can have my assistant kind of build a lot of that stuff for me, and they can be approved. Make sure the dates are right, make sure things are put on the calendar, and things are blocked off. Another thing too is that we have kind of these SOPs, the service operating procedures, that really detail a lot of these things out. So I have a couple of documents I would love to show you. Let's see here. So I was commissioned to do a couple of service operating procedure, and what SOP means is just means training manual. That's that's what service operating procedure. And I did an overall what is a LinkedIn Live and what is a LinkedIn event and what's the difference. And I kind of created this overview because a lot of people didn't understand it. And so this particular client is, I want you to break down how this stuff works. And so creating an SOP is very important for your procedures. You have text, you have a video explanation, which I did in Loom. And then it goes from step by step on the major elements and scenarios and that sort of thing. Another thing too is you may have a particular setup. For example, one of my clients says, you know what, I use Zoom even with Restream, and I use Zoom for the registration. And I want a LinkedIn Live as well. So I want to use Restream with Zoom to run a LinkedIn Live. And that way he can controls the registration and that registration path, which is important for him. And so what I did was I created 2 documents for him. And one was overall checklist, and the other one was some other specific items here. So I kept it pretty simple, overview, explanation, and these are the things that need to happen. And let's go through some of the steps here. you need an initial speaker. Talk to who wants to be on the actual event. Matter of fact, after this event, I have someone interested in being a speaker. Matter of fact, I have 50. There's a lot of people interested in being speakers on the event, but they have to kind of correlate with some of the things that we're doing. Have the speaker agree on the times and stuff. Establish the role in conversation and how they're going to sponsor it, how they're going to support it. Um, Once you create the slides for the presentation, make sure they're presented to that speaker and they agree. Communicate and update for any changes to the slides if needed. Send them the actual agreement. Let me see. Create the calendar invites. Create the event via Restream. Set up the LinkedIn direct message campaign, and this is the thing I mentioned before. I'm able to message on LinkedIn. Anyone's able to message anyone on a first level degree, and so if you already know them, you may pick a subset of those people to let them know that the event is happening. And there's quite a few items in here. And this is specific to him, but you get the idea. They may have a series of emails they're sent out prior. I don't do a lot of this, but sometimes people send up to 3 emails coming up before prior to the event, and then verify the email list that the speaker's sending, or have them add to it so you can see the messaging or be involved in the interaction. Send a reminder. So a lot of times the day before, you may want to send a manual reminder via email or DM. Let's see. Things that happen on the day of the event, after the event, that's important too. So after event, you want to maximize your engagement, because while the irons are hot, so they either registered, or they've been to the event, or they're engaged in some of the content and they have a question. And so you want to follow up with them in a very, very short window, and which should usually about 48 hours. And then this is scraping data for, growing your email list. This is another thing that we do sometimes internally. You want to validate emails, because if you have a bad email, it could damage your email reputation, and a lot of different things too. And so the second part of that for him was the physical. How do I set it up from connect from Restream to his Zoom, and to make sure he can get what he needs to get done. And so I broke it down in a very, very, very simple way for his assistants to do that. So hopefully that does make sense. Madawa, I think I'm saying your name wrong, Diaz. I tell you what, book 20 minutes with me and I'll go through it with you. Some of that is a little bit on the private side, but we'll go ahead for that Google sheet. Some of that is something I probably want to walk you through. So go ahead and book some time with me. I think the link is in the chat there, So those are the kind of the most important things to set up. So it's really, really, really important to understand, why am I doing this? How can I set it up? When I'm setting this up and I'm working with other people, what's the benefit for other people? Because at the end of the day, we're here to do stuff that we enjoy, but we also have a business to run. And how do we convey the concepts of providing value, not value to me, but value to other people, so they can actually engage and you can support them while making an income. Sure. So right now, this is a little bit of a shorter live, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And I'll go through the slides again quite quickly. I think we ended up at 4.1, what tools and why. And I'll go through these really quickly. Yeah, it is 4 to 6 weeks prior. And that's a general rule. If you can't do it, you can do a live every single week, and people see you and they get used to that time and date. Again, we talked about doing things right and making sure that you have the right SOPs, the procedures in place, and then, if necessary, have those sponsors. And make sure everyone agrees to what they're doing, because you don't want to pull a speaker in and they don't really um, they're not really engaged or understanding what they're getting involved with. So you want clarity on that. And that's the end of the slides there. So hopefully you enjoyed this stuff. So what I'll do is I'll keep open for the next 5 minutes for any questions. And I do appreciate everyone. So I was really excited for everyone to show up and mention that they're there. That kind of boost me quite a bit there. Have I ever used Meetup for a live event with your LinkedIn events? No, I didn't even know you could use Meetup. Meetup is is a social platform, isn't it? Where you actually meet those people in person. I did not know that they have a streaming feature there. No, no, Marcus. What's your experience with that, Marcus? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I do appreciate it, and I hope you learned something. If you want, and what I'll do also is I'll pick someone. We have a free seat in the master class. So if anyone else is interested, I'll just type in, let's see, what are we doing here? That's a giveaway right now. So we have one seat. So if you're interested in that seat, type in masterclass, and then we'll go ahead and fill that one slot, because we have one slot. So basically, the masterclass is a $5,000 value. We're only charging $200 for the license. And the discrepancy is I want to fill those seats and I want to help people. And of course, I want to get those testimonials in and actually help them convert and bring in clients. So if interested in that, go ahead and put in the word masterclass, and I'll enter you in the drawing. Oh, Butch is on it. Well, awesome. I'll go ahead and check the chat a little bit later, but I want to thank everyone for joining. And we have a show next. We have a show next month as well, and I'll go ahead and announce it once we put that information together. All right, everyone, have a great day.